you narrate as you go along?
No.
Whatever you put off. This is the lake we're going to left there.
Sure. Hello.
Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of Dacks of Adiron. My name is Corey, and today we'll be hiking my third high peak, Colvin Mountain. Located roughly 11 miles south of the town of Keene, the mountain gets its name from the man who was originally in charge of mapping the region in the 1870s, Verplanck Colvin. That's a fun name. While surveying the mountain, he delegated the naming of it to one of his team members, so in reverence to their fearless leader, they named it simply Mount Colvin. Standing at 4,057 feet, Mount Colvin is the 39th highest peak in the Adirondack 46. The hike begins from the Adirondack Mountain Reserve, or AMR, which I'll get into in just a minute. You'll walk over 3.5 miles down a dirt road before reaching the Colvin trailhead, which puts the hike at a total of 6.25 miles one way. The total elevation gain on this hike varies depending on the precise route you take, but it's generally between 3,800 and 4,000 feet. I asked my aunt and cousin to join me on today's hike, and both of them being enthusiastic hikers, we agreed to meet up at 6 a.m. to make the hour-long drive to the AMR for our 7:30 reservation. You heard that correctly, reservation. You see, the AMR is a 7,000-acre land preserve that's privately owned, and the public is granted access through it via an easement. As the last few years have seen a major influx of tourists seeking to hike the trails, a pilot program was instituted in the spring of 2021, stating that between May 1st and October 31st, you'll need to make a reservation to park at the AMR. I have mixed feelings about this. It's very much a double-edged sword, but as the great Thomas Sowell says, there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And this seems like just another example of how that's true. Other rules exist as well, and since it would take half of this video to go over them with you, please visit their website at hikeamr.org if you plan to do any hiking from the AMR. I brought along my standard equipment, including a day pack, windbreaker, protein bars, 64 ounces of water, and my camera equipment. As I stated already, and as you can see on the screen, the hike starts with a 3.6-mile walk down a dirt road, which again, I have mixed feelings about. But as far as dirt roads go, it's a pretty nice one. It's clearly well cared for, and has less bumps and potholes than the paved roads in my hometown, and nearly the entire walk is flanked by Gill Brook, complete with shallow rapids, large rocks, and even a few waterfalls. We could have taken the Gilbrook Trail instead. It begins somewhere around the 2.5-mile marker on this dirt road, and it follows Gilbrook for roughly a mile before linking up with the Colvin Trail. But I plan on using that trail whenever I hike another of the 46, Nippletop. I didn't name it. We arrived at the trailhead roughly 50 minutes after setting out from the parking lot. Even though we were technically halfway through the hike distance-wise, we were really only just beginning the ascent. After taking a 5-minute break to grab a little water and stretch, we started up the Colvin Trail. The base of the mountain has a somewhat gentle slope as you go up, and though it hadn't rained today, we were in the middle of the wettest summer anyone can remember in many years. In fact, there were only 10 days of sunshine between July and August of 2023. That figure may vary depending on where it is you live in upstate New York, but suffice it to say that we got a lot of rain. When we arrived at the AMR, there were scattered clouds, the temperature was a pleasant 63 degrees Fahrenheit, and it would top out at an even more pleasant 75 degrees around 1 p.m. You know, living this far north, you get used to short summers and wildly unpredictable weather, so on a day like this, we might as well have been on a beach, sipping cocktails in between volleyball serves. Alright, it's not quite to that extreme, but I think we can all agree that no, you know what? I'm gonna let the bossa nova music fly, because for all I know, you are on a beach, sipping cocktails, making out with flamingos, you weirdo. About a half a mile up the trail, we hit the intersection for Indian Head Mountain. It's much smaller than Colvin, but from what I'm told, you can still get a great view of the valley from the peak, so it's something you may want to do if you visit. Continuing on, we took turns taking point, partially because I kept stopping to try and document our progress, and maybe catch a breather at the same time. But despite that, we made pretty good time and never stopped for more than a minute or two to gather our stamina. .6 miles past the Indian Head intersection, you'll come to the Nippletop intersection. As stated earlier, Nippletop is another of the 46 high peaks. It's taller than and flanks Colvin to the east, which you can see through the trees periodically throughout the ascent. Now, I don't know what you all converse about on your family hikes, but we like to keep the conversations highbrow.
Well, have you ever gone like this? Licked yourself?
No.
How salty it is?
I never licked myself. Did you ever lick yourself?
Yeah, of course.
I'll just lick my arm.
I don't taste salt. I have not sweated yet.
Oh, that's salty.
Yeah, see?
I can feel it all over my body, so I know I'm...
In the summer, like when it dries, if I don't shower right away, I have like white.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you feel like powdery.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
You must have the same genes.
Well, we are related.
The effects of all the rain became more apparent the higher in altitude we climbed, and with all that moisture, it was inevitable that we began finding mushrooms growing all along the trail. Here are just a few of them. I don't know what their real names are, so I named this one a caramel crumble. And here are a small troop of baked apple cakes. And this guy here reminds me of a burger bun, so I'll call it the big boy. You know, I think I might be hungry. One thing I really enjoyed about this hike was that even during the steepest parts towards the end, it would always level out afterwards for just long enough to gain back a little stamina. I mean, granted, each plateau was turned into a literal stream or a morass of soupy mud, but we approached each new obstacle scientifically, trying out the best possible way through or up. I suppose an argument could be made for religiously as well. Roughly 3.5 hours after setting out from the car, we approached the final challenge before hitting the peak. This part is set up sort of like rock steps for giants, and you need to pull yourself up onto each successive step. And once you're up this here ladder, the peak is just up to your right. After 6.25 miles, I felt surprisingly good. In fact, my stamina on this hike far outlasted the wear and tear on my feet and knees, which had me limping the last 1.5 miles back to the car. The peak is somewhat closed around you, but it's still open enough to the north and west to get a spectacular view of over a dozen other high peaks and Au Sable Lake below. So after taking a break for an hour, eating some food, and rehydrating, we began making our way back down the mountain to close out a great day of hiking. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell so you'll be notified when a new video is posted. Join me next time on another journey through the Dacks of Adirondack.